So this is round two. So I uploaded a gameplay video of Discordia, right? And now I'm going to go through the build process of how to build her. So, you don't have to listen to me. Let's keep this in mind. I have literally no credentials that matter at all besides the fact that I play Smite. That's it. I'm not a pro. I don't pay attention. I guess I do pay attention to the competitive scene, but I don't analyze the competitive scene. You have no real reason to listen to me except for the fact that I play Smite. So, mostly this video is directed to my boyfriend, who I'm going to try and teach him how to play all these characters that he wants to learn how to play, but doesn't know how to. So, this is Discordia. She is the goddess of strife, right? Is that it? Who is she? Wait, Lore. There we go. Oh, that's not telling me anything about her. Where the hell do I go about her? Who? Oh my god. Okay, we're moving on. Oh, don't look at my history. I'm trash at her. I know. But so to begin with, right? All right. So starter item wise, you're gonna want. There's you can. Okay. So for starter items, Sands of Time is always good. It gives you 10% cooldown reduction. You can spam your abilities. Also, it gives you pretty good mana sustain. It's not really amazing, but it's pretty decent, right? So you can rock out with Sands of Time. You can also get Soulstone. Soulstone helps you clear even faster. She has pretty decent clear, right? Because the big ball or big star goes through first, right? If you're clearing, you level your one, right? The big star goes through first, right? And then odds are, if you line it up perfectly straight, a second small star will go through it, right? So yeah, well, Sands of Time, Soulstone. So yeah, fuck, what was I gonna say? Words are hard, but so that's a really good clear already, right? So what would that be? What how much damage would that be, right? So 70 and then 20, so it's already 90 damage. That's not including your scaling. So that's pretty decent for level 1. I mean, like, it's not like, oh my gosh, he broken, but like, it's pretty decent, right? Um, You could also start with Soul Trap. I don't really like it that much because you don't really have much sustain out of this. It's more of just like rushing Book of Thoth, which is good on her, right? But it's like if you're playing like Conquest, maybe you can get away with it. I personally would prefer just going Sands of Time and stuff like that. You could also just rush Bancrofts, tier 2 Bancrofts. It's about the same, right? This just gives you mana, this gives you life steal, right? This gives you more power though, but Bancroft's is cheaper, and well, tier 2 isn't, but it's cheaper and it gives you more of a power spike, so it's honestly up to you and what you're feeling. But if you look at their team comp and you see that they have quite a bit of CC and you want to be able to use your 3 to like avoid damage and stuff and have your abilities up faster, I'd recommend Sands of Time. But if you want to like force them out, Soulstone or any of these 3 would really work well. If you have a hunter on your team, this is for Joust, right? If you have a hunter on your team and you see that they're like gonna start building stacks, maybe don't get Soul Trap. Let them build their stacks because you're gonna do damage even without the stacks, right? So Book of Thoth probably wouldn't be, you know, necessary because that slows down your stacking. It slows down their stacking. So if you just want to start with an item and rush an item, and your hunter is stacking, I'd recommend Bancroft's Talon. But I mean, and then you also get potions with these, right? Right. So boots. All right. So core items, right? Uh, Shoes of the Magi. 9 times out of 10, you'll want to do damage, right? I can't think of a reason why you'd want Shoes of Focus. I'm not saying that you can't get them. You can get them if you want to rush full CDR, but Shoes of Focus is just too good, right? So okay, and then from next item, Chronos Pendant, or this is different depending on if you start with these two items. If you start with Soul Trap, you'll get Book of Thoth, and then Boots, and then Chronos Pendant. And then if you start with Talon Trinket, you'll get Bancroft's Boots, then Chronos Pendant. Does that make sense? But if you start with a starter item, right, what you'll want to do is you'll want to get the starter item, and then Tier 1, so Lost Artifact, right? So you'll get Tier 1 Lost Artifact, and then build it into a Chronos Pendant once you finish your boots. Of course, you don't have to do that, but I've been doing it, and I like it. Chronos Pendant's such an underrated item. It gives you 80 power and a bunch of mana sustain, right? And that 20 cooldown reduction plus the passive. So you already have 30% cooldown reduction along with your 3 and along with this passive. Also, you're chunking for quite a bit of damage with these items. Like, that's not that bad, right? That's a lot of damage. Like, be it it's not as much as like you could get from like Bancrofts or like Book of Thoth, but you know, you could, right? And then after that, I would recommend getting, where is it? Spear Desolation. This will finish out your cooldown reduction, right? You have max cooldown, and then you also have the passive from Chronos Fender, right? And you also have 30 flat penetration. So mages, majority of them, minus like Freya and Zhong Kui and Hades, I think those are the only ones. Don't quote me, there's probably more. But those 3 mages, they get more magical protection as the game goes on. Now, all the other mages, on the other hand, only have 30 magical protections. So, if you get rid of, here's 10 penetration, 20 penetration there, I think that's how it works. I think that's how armor works, right? Flat penetration just gets rid of the armor. I don't know, really, but that's 30 penetration, that gets rid of 30 armor, right? So you're hitting them for true damage. And if you have these items built, you have 225 power. That's a lot of power. Be it, it's not like, oh wow, you're gonna be one-shotting people. No, but you'll still be doing quite a bit. Like, Discordia does a lot of damage, even with just her base damage. Like, even if it's only 250, 225, right? Sorry, not 250, 225. You're still gonna be doing a lot of work, right? But if you start Soul Trap, right? Get Thoth, and then that, right? That's still good and whatnot, right? Same thing for that. Like, no matter what starter item you go, you're still gonna be getting these items, if that makes sense. I'm trying to think. Next, it's honestly optional after this. If they have a healer, I always recommend Divine Rune. Like, it's such a good item now that 80 power is ridiculous, right? Like, that's so much, right? And then you have 40 penetration, right? So most hunters max out at 45 magical penetration. I want to say 45 penetration. I don't really pay attention to hunters, but so they'll only have 5 magical protections unless they go defense, which they might go defense. You never know, right? So if you're just building this, right, like this is your build so far, next, it's honestly up to you. You could go for an Obsidian Shard. I've not. You have 40 flat penetration though, so Obsidian Shard's gonna be doing a lot less work than you'd think it would. So if they have 160 magical defense, right, you get rid of 40, right? So that's still 120, and then minus the 33% of that. What's that? 40 minus 40, so then they'll go down to 80, right? Which is pretty decent, right? But if they only have one tank on the team, Obsidian Shard really isn't worth it. Also, if they have maybe even 2 tanks on the team, Obsidian Shard really isn't worth it. I'm not saying that it's bad or anything. I'm just saying, like, you have so much flat penetration that it's kind of losing value. So you could go Obsidian Shard. I'm not gonna tell you shouldn't. Like, I'm not gonna yell at you if I see you in my games and you don't go it. You can also get Gem of Isolation. The 25 health is great on her because she's so squishy. It also gives you 90 power, which is really high, as well as at 25% slow, right? And with her one, the little balls that fly all over or stars, are they stars or are they balls? I don't know. But with that flying all over the place, the odds of that hitting someone are pretty high. Like it's, I'm not saying it's guaranteed to hit, but it's pretty high, and even if it's only 25% slow, that's still something. Um, so you could get Gem of Isolation. Uh, I mean, Rada Tahuti, you can build 5th item if you're feeling yourself, right? And you have like Sands of Time, right? Imagine this is like over there, right? And you have this all built, and you're like, I think I need a Rada Tahuti. I mean, shit, you do you. Like, it's still a Rada Tahuti. That's a lot of damage, and it's a lot of mana sustain. And I mean, that's really it. It's Rada Tahuti. It's pretty much essential on all mages. Like Discordia, she does so much damage that it's pretty decent. Like, I'm not gonna stop you or anything like that. Like, there's no reason to not get Rada Tahuti, but I don't recommend you getting it like first or second or third item, right? Like, get it like once you have cooldown and like penetration online, right? And then what else could you get? You can build stacks on her. You could get Doom Orb. Doom Orb isn't bad. You can also, if you didn't start with tier 2 Book of Thoth, you can also get Book of Thoth once you get Spirit Desolation online. It's a little late, but it's still worth it. Ethereal Staff is good too. That's 5% of their max health that you're taking away. That's always good. Soul Reaver as well. Although I would recommend Ethereal Staff over Soul Reaver simply because it procs way more and it does so much more, and it gives you crowd control reduction, it gives you health. This only gives you really mana and like 100 damage. Like, this gives you 10 less damage and a bunch of other stuff. So it's up to you. You can also start tier 2 Warlocks. I'm going all the way back to the beginning of this video. You can also start tier 2 Warlocks if you'd want it to. It's just that with Warlock Sash, you're gonna be tanky. You're not really gonna die, but you're gonna put in work, but you're not gonna put in as much work as you would if you went like Book of Thoth or like Doom Orb. You know, you can also get Book of the Dead. It's expensive. Mage builds are very expensive, right? Book of the Dead allows you to sustain through team fights really well. It gives you extra health. It gives you that shield, which is always nice, and it gives you quite a bit of damage. Like, that's a pretty good item. It's just that it's hard to get online if you're behind because they'll constantly be poking you. So you'll just keep losing that shield. But if you're ahead and you're able to keep that shield up for team fights, it's great. I love it. So I'm gonna get rid of this, right? So this is normally what your build will look like, right? This is how I build Discordia. Book of the Dead a little late. I mean, maybe I would switch it with Rod or vice, switch these two around. If they don't have a healer, obviously don't get Divine Rune. I mean, actually I take that back. You can get Divine Rune because hunters do build Lifesteal. It's very common for them to build Lifesteal. So you could get Divine Rune and shut that down, but it's honestly up to you at this point. Like, if you feel like you need to stop their healing, obviously get a Divine Rune. But all in all, this, if you feel like Book of the Dead should be rushed before Chronos Pendant, then go for it. Like, switch out. You could get Sands of Time and then tier 1, whatever this tiny trinket, right? And then your potions and whatever, and then rush boots and then rush Book of the Dead. That works too. I'm not complaining about that. That'll help you survive if you feel like you're being like bullied by the enemy team or whatever, and then get Chronos Pendant and Spirit Deso and Divine Rune and stuff, and Rod. But yeah, so this is your offensive build. If you need defense, she's not really a character that's like, I need defense, right? Magi's Blessings, always good, right? But yeah, back to what I was saying. She's not really a character that needs defense. Like, her, like, just remember, the best CC is death. So Magi's always good. Helps you if you can't time your beads correctly, like me, unless it's an Ares pull. So that's always something. Like, if they have a Ymir on your team and like on the enemy team, and you can't dodge his freeze with your little dash, because if you watch the video that I just uploaded, you can see that I do it quite a few times where the Amaterasu is ulting, and then I use my 3 to avoid the last tick of it, or the last swing, or last chop, or whatever the fuck it is, to not get stunned. So if you can't do that, Magi's Blessing's always good. I'll never complain about a Mantle of Discord. Like, that's 60 protections, 10% cooldown reduction. Like, that's pretty decent. If you had to switch some of these items out, right, for defense, right, you're not gonna really switch out boots, right? You're always gonna need boots, right? And you're always gonna need Chronos Pendant, right? And then let's say you're like really far behind, like they keep focusing you. Mantle might not be a good thing to just go for right away, but if you absolutely need to, I would get it. Like, it'll keep you alive. Like, it's not 100% guaranteed that'll keep you alive. You have to play back and like play more defensive, but it'll keep you alive. Like, these two items together, you'll be shooting with the 20% with the 30% cooldown reduction. My bad. You'll be shooting out your abilities along with your three, keeping up your cooldowns and whatever. And with boots, it'll help you escape, but everybody buys boots, so like I don't really think it'll help you run away that much. But if you do go for Mantle of Discord, I would replace Spirit Desolation with Mantle, right? And then you're gonna get Obsidian Shard, because you're already gonna have less penetration, right? You only have 10 right here, right? So you get Obsidian Shard because that's 33%, right? Like, that's gonna do a lot. Like, even on a mage, right? With the 10, let me think. Okay, right? So they have 30, right? You get rid of 10, that's 20, and 33% of 20 is like what? 8, 7? No, it's like 6 point something. I don't know. It's still not that bad. Like, I I'd hate to say that it's not as good as like just a bunch of damage, because it's not. Like, you're gonna do less damage all around, but you're still Discordia, so you're still gonna do a shit ton, right? And then if you're also being like killed a lot and stuff, Book of the Dead, like, get that shit. Like, it'll keep you alive. Um, another, I want to round out the build. Maybe you could get Ratatouille, although your damage is like fairly low. I'm not saying it's like, oh wow, you're gonna be doing nothing. Like, it's still up there. So you could get Ratatouille. If you feel like you need to help the team more, a Gem of Isolation is always a good thing. Although Discordia doesn't really take a utility role like Chang'e does, or a character like that. So I would just say Ratatouille, just to wrap that up, right? And then another defensive item that's not bad on her, you could get Dynasty Plate Helm, but I don't know. I feel like that item just kind of fell off once they lowered the penetration and stuff. And then I feel like that item just kind of like, you know. Voidstone you could get, but most Guardians are picking that up now, so I wouldn't. Breastplate of Valor. If you just wanna rush max cooldown like that, and they have like a really high physical count on their team, that's good. Or if you just don't want Chronos Pendant and you just want to replace that with Breastplate of Valor, that works too. Like, if they have 4 physicals on their team and their only magical is their support, Breastplate of Valor is the way to go, right? And then you switch. So okay, so you get Shoes of the Magi, and then you'll skip Chronos Pendant. You'll replace Chronos Pendant with Breastplate of Valor, right? And that's 20% cooldown, mana sustain, everything like that, right? I'm not saying you have to rush this or anything like that, but if you feel like you need physical defense, this is the way to go. And then finally, another decent defense item on her, Head of the Urchin, that works. We already talked about these 3 items. Those are all good defensive. Spirit Robe's always good. It's 15% damage mitigation every time you're CC'd. That's good. Um, if they have like a Bakasura and you need to peel for yourself, this works. Nemean Line really doesn't work that well as this as Midgardian Mail, because it also gives you health. It doesn't give you as much physical protection. Actually, no, it gives you nowhere even close to the same amount. But that passive is really good for peeling for yourself from auto attackers, so like Bakasura, Kali, Hunters even. That's not bad. I'm not saying get it every game, but if you feel like you need to get it, get it. Genji's Guard. Genji's Guard's always good. Like, that's 40 MP5. Like, what the fuck? But most of the time, I recommend Hide of the Urchin. It's just such a good item. Like, it's after they nerfed it, it got a little bit worse, but it's not bad. It's still 60 magical physical protections when it's maxed out. And the tier 2 of it's actually really good. Like, that's a lot for a tier 2. So, all in all, these are your defensive items. Basically, the whole cloak tree, this is your best friend when playing a mage. Breastplate of Valor as well. So, yeah, all in all, these are your items that you're probably going to be getting. Relic wise, I would always say Aegis and beads, um, because we are not pros and we don't know. Okay, let me start over with that. We're not pros. We're bad at the game, so we need actives that help us survive when we're bad, right? Beads, what else can I say? It cleanses the CCs. If there's an Ares on the team, it's good. You also have a CC immune alt, which is good. So if you ever don't have beads up and you need to cleanse CC, I'm not saying waste your alt, but like if it's an Ares pull, might as well. Like there's no point in dying. Aegis Amulet, why wouldn't you? Like it's 2 seconds of invincibility. Like come on now, that's not fair, right? Although you can't, you'll get killed and stuff, but it's fine. We're fine. Heavenly Wings Sprint. I think Sprint's actually really decent, and especially like the haste when you upgrade it. That's good. You could get that if you feel like your dash isn't doing enough and you need to escape more. You can always get that. And then the final act is really up to you. I would say Sunder because I'm a bad bitch and Sunder's fun as fuck. But if they have Odin, Phantom Veil, if you if your team needs a magical shell, get a magical shell. Horrific Emblem's nice and all, but I feel like that's more of a supporty one, right? Like Horrific, Magic, Meditation, these three, four even, Phantom Veil included. They're all kind of like supporty ones, right? And then these ones, alright, even Teleport, right? These ones, they're all more of like solo laner. So, Curse Donk, supporty. You could get Bracer of Undoing, but at the because that 3 seconds from off of your abilities, that works with your cooldown reduction. But I'm not saying go get it ASAP. It's broken as fuck. Like no, like honestly, you're probably just gonna stick with one of these, two of these three. I can't. Magical Shell maybe. Magic Shell's always good. Like it's extra health depending on your level. Like, and it gives you 2 block stacks from auto attack. So that's never a bad thing. You're not tanky enough really to get Shield of Thorns. I'm not saying like never get it, but like you're not tanky enough, you know? Hand of the Gods is just bad. Because you're a mage, you do a shit ton of damage and you can easily confirm stuff if you just pay attention. So you don't really need a hand. Belt of Frenzy, that's good. It can help you push objectives really well with your team. And it even helps you like a shit ton. Like that 10% increased damage dealt to all targets, as I read it right off the thing, that's good, because you're doing 10% more damage than you normally would, and Discordia does a shit ton of damage. So I guess Belt of Frenzy would be a really good final one, right? And then consumable wise, wards. Why wouldn't you get wards? I can never understand why people don't get wards, right? Late game, you'll want to get these potions. You'll be doing a lot of damage, so honestly, in my honest opinion, I think Elixir of Defense is just better than the Elixir of Power late game, because you want to survive in those team fights. So, but also with Elixir of Power, you can just one-shot people. So honestly, it's up to you. Sentry wards, potions, normal stuff. Just, yeah, always ward. You have a dash, and you're a fairly safe character because you can peel for yourself, but I do recommend just warding and keeping an eye on the enemy and just always making sure that they can't just like come up behind you, because that dash, although it's nice and all, it can't get you out of everything. Like you gotta pay attention. Like, so yeah, this is what I would build on her. Once again, you don't have to listen to me. I'm far from being a pro at Smite, I'm gonna be honest with you, but this is what I build on her from time to time when I do play her. So I hope I helped you guys learn something. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!